Attention bowlers, we are just about to get started. Please finish your warm-up frames. We'll be changing the scoring in just a moment. Welcome back to Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire for another exciting Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. A doubleheader today. Oh, hello. Oh, see you there. I'm Steve. Today it's going to be Dan Gray versus Caitlin Zoltko in Class B North and Krista Ruggiero versus Diane Hammett in Class E North. It's great to have you along with us. It is Saturday, January 24th in Manchester, New Hampshire in the year 2026. Just a day or so before Snowmageddon here in the Northeast. So if this is the last time we are available to go to a bowling alley for some time, you can blame the weather on that. Anyways, so we are going to get started here in just a couple of moments here. The match format is 5 strings with 14 points on offer, 2 points per string and 4 for total pinfall. And if there is a tie, the points are always divided right down the center, as per usual for the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. To give you the ground rules today, it's not going to be a head-to-head match. The bowlers have elected to bowl opposite one another to the opposing matchup. So it will be Dan Gray on your left and Krista Ruggiero on your right, not bowling each other. It'll be crisscrossed. Here's Krista Ruggiero opening up with a 7-drop. Dan Gray will begin on the pocket with an 8-drop. 4-7-10 for Ruggiero, 4-7 for Gray. Ruggiero on your right, aims down the center, takes nothing. Dan Gray on the 4-7 for a potential spare. He's got it. He'll take a spare in his first box. Krista Ruggiero all the while on the 4-7-10 for a 10 box. Ends up being, I believe, what's going to be a 7. She waves it off as a 7. This is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, brought to you by 3-Ball Spare Conglomerate. Again, Saturday, January 24th, 2026. Let's talk about some things. If you've never seen Candlepin bowling, I hope you enjoyed the match today. This is a unique take on bowling from the unique heart of New England and Eastern Canada. There's a 4-drop and a 6-pack for Krista Ruggiero on the right side. Dan Gray is filling a strike, and he's on the pocket. He's on the head pin. He drops 6. He fills with 6. He splits 6. Krista Ruggiero, 6 pins on the left side. She'll take 3 and leave 3. Dan Gray, 4 pins, scattered along the plate. And Dan Gray will take a spare. What a nice spare by Dan Gray, 2 in a row. Krista Ruggiero will take an out of an 8. Let's look at Dan Gray's shot again. It was the 5, the 3, the 7, and the 10. Great ball by Mr. Dan Gray. On your right, Krista Ruggiero in the light blue. Lane 4. On the pocket, 8 down, 6 in the 10. Dan Gray, pocket, and a strike on spare for Dan Gray. 3 marks in a row. Dan Gray finding his footing early. Krista Ruggiero also with a mark. 2 great marks in a row. Dan Gray's at 46 and a bonus after 3 and is 25 after 3 plus a fill for Krista Ruggiero. Krista Ruggiero on lane 4. Head pin. 9 pins down. 6 pin, thinking about it. It'll stay up, but a great 9 fill for Krista. Dan Gray will miss the head pin, I think, for the first time today, and he'll drop 6 on his strike fill so far. 4 horsemen right. 6 pin, single pin spare for Krista Ruggiero coming up. And she's got it. No problem for Krista. 2 marks in a row. 44 and a bonus after 4. Dan Gray takes 2, leaves 2. He'll take an 8 on a strike fill. That puts him at 54 and 3. Gray almost keeps it perfect, but leaves 1. With a 9 box, he's at 63 in the 4th frame. Krista Ruggiero, 44 and a bonus after 4. This broadcast should have subtitles and captions if you would like to enable them. Also consider the transcript feature if you're watching this from YouTube. During the match, I'll provide the play-by-play action and on-screen scoring to the best of my ability. The numbers on your screen are unofficial. The bowlers maintain the authority on the scores. 3 fill for Krista. Gray, not on a mark for the first time today, drops 4. Every once in a while I might pause to verify scores if they're out of sync with the electronic scoreboard off camera. I'll appreciate your patience if there's any errors or any corrections or any catch-ups that have to be done, or any mustards, any condiments. Dan Gray on a 6-pack left. Blows it up, 4-pin, touched but doesn't fall down. Both marks missed. Krista Ruggiero on the 1-3 for a 10. She'll take it for a 10. That puts Krista Ruggiero with an impressive 57 half. Dan Gray will take a 10 as well with a 73 half. What a heck of a start for both of our bowlers, our away bowlers. Dan Gray and Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray from Portsmouth and Krista Ruggiero from Academy Lane. 73 half for Dan Gray and a 57 half for Krista Ruggiero. A lot for the home bowlers to start to think about. And speaking of thinking about it, here's Diane Hammett on the right side, followed by Caitlin Zoltko. Diane Hammett with an 8 drop and a split, 5-10. Caitlin Zoltko with a 6 drop, 7-10-2-4. Diane for a 5-10 split, just narrowly missing. Caitlin Zoltko's on the object pin, but only gets the object pin. 10 pin, probably going to stay up. Yes, it will. I know how Lakeside plays. Diane Hammett. Oh, a nice 10 box. Diane clocking in with a 10. Caitlin with a 7. Diane Hammett on your right in the red. She'll take a few out. Caitlin Zoltko on the 1-3 pocket will take 8 out. That's a 3 drop for Diane. An interesting leave. Don't know what to call that. She'll punch the center. Here's Caitlin. Kicks the wood, gets nothing. Diane Hammett with an 8. Caitlin Zoltko with a 9. Our home bowlers today. If in the off chance you enjoy this content, I encourage you to consider subscribing to this channel to help us grow. That's the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook and YouTube as well. 3 drop for Diane Hammett to start out. Caitlin Zoltko punches the pocket, drops 6 and splits 6. Diane for the spare. A little bit off to the right. 3-6, 4-10 for Caitlin. She'll take 2, leave 2. Diane on the 1-2-4-7 pocket. It'll be a 6 box. 24 after 3 for Diane. Caitlin will take an out of a 9 for 25 after 3. Diane Hammett on your right has a season record of 53 and 73. She's bowled 9 matches so far. Away, she's 19 and 51. At home, she's 34 and 22. Season average 91.10. And Caitlin will nearly take a strike. Diane Hammett, working box. It's a 6-pack and a French. That's a 3 drop. Diane's off to the right, takes another. 5 down, 5 up. Caitlin for the single pin spare, and she'll get that single pin spare. 35 and a bonus for Caitlin. Diane's looking at a 5 or higher. She'll take a 7. That's 31 after 4. Diane Hammett, away average 88.92, home average 93.95, high single 110, high series 488. 3 strikes, 46 spares, 71 tens for Diane Hammett. 27% perfect box percentage, 4,102. Seasonal total pins, currently 4th place in her division. 12th in the wild card seed in Class E North. Class E North Division 1. There's a 2-drop for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko with a 3 fill. Diane for the spare. 5:10 left. Caitlin with a 6-pack left. Diane with wood in front of the 5, T-shaped corralled around it. She'll take a 10 box, another 10 box on the 5:10 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko will also have a grade out of a 10 box. That's the end of the half. That's the end of the first game. First half of the first game, excuse me. It's 48 for Caitlin Zoltko and 41 for Diane Hammett. Diane trails by 16 to Krista Ruggiero. Caitlin trails by 25 to Dan Gray. It's going to be Dan Gray on your right and Krista Ruggiero on your left. The scoreboards will not switch sides. Just so everybody's clear on that. Dan Gray. He'll poke 1. Krista Ruggiero off to the right. We'll take 3 out. Tale of 2 halves so far. Plenty of room for improvement, though. Dan Gray after a 1-drop on the 7-pin. He's on the pocket. Oh, and he takes out the rest. For a spare, no less. And Krista Ruggiero into the void. Dan Gray, season record 40-58 with 7 matches played. Away record 17-25. Home record 25-31. Season average 102.2. And Krista Ruggiero, what a nice out. At the very least for a 67 after 6. A 6-7 after 6 for Krista Ruggiero. 83 and a bonus after 6 for Dan Gray. Dan Gray, away average 100.47. Home average 103.6. High single 122. High series 536. 14 strikes, 52 spares, 61 tens. 42% perfect box percentage, 35.79 seasonal pinfall for Dan Gray. 3rd place in his division, 12th in the wild card. Class B North Division 4 for Dan Gray out of Riverwalk Lanes. Excuse me, I said Bolorama earlier. I meant to say Riverwalk. He was Bolorama last season. Had Bolorama on the mind. Krista Ruggiero is respotting. Dan Gray is working on a spare. And the 6-pin is still missing once again for Krista. And that's an 8-drop all the while for Dan Gray while we wait for the respot. Looks like a finger on the tubes of lane 3 is having some issues. Looks like Kevin Davis is sprinting down there to have a look. It looks like Dan Gray will continue regardless. Maybe he should have waited. He misses off to the left for his spare shot. We'll go slightly out of sync for at least this box while lane 3 figures things out. And Dan Gray will take a 9. That's 100 after 7, crossing the triple-digit threshold, 7 frames in. 6-pin is on lane 3 now. It's a full rack for Krista Ruggiero. Krista Ruggiero now continues. Krista on the head pin. Oh, and everything but the 6 falls. The pin that was repaired in the tubes is now the pin that she has to shoot at for a spare. Krista, oh, that ball tailed. Tailed kind of midway down the lane. Was on target briefly. Krista Ruggiero, that ball's on target. That'll be a 10 for Krista, her 3rd in a row. For 77 after 7. Dan Gray on your right. It's away. Head pin. 8 go down, 9 go down. The 10th pin wiggles in defiance. Krista Ruggiero, pocket. Little full. 5 drop. Spread eagle minus the 3. Dan Gray on a single on the 10 pin. He fires deep downfield. He connects with the wood, caps the wood, no mark. Krista Ruggiero nearly on target, sails off to the left, leaves the 2, the 6, and the 10. Dan Gray, 9 or 10 box now. Misses it again for a 9 for 109 after 8. Krista Ruggiero will take 8 for 85. 2 frames to go. It is Dan Gray versus Caitlin Zoltko and Krista Ruggiero versus Diane Hammett. This is not a head-to-head match today. Bowlers are bowling opposite one another. Gray, another headpin shot. 8 go down, 3-6. Krista Ruggiero, headpin. Almost 8 go down. Instead, it ends up being 7. It's the 5, the 7, and the 9 with a slid 9. Dan Gray narrowly misses. You can see that reaction. He touched both. Krista, a little off to the right. Gray on the 6 pin. He takes it for a 10, 119 in 9. Krista, 7, the 5, and the 9. Only the 9 stands. That's a 94 with a 9 box in the 9th for Krista Ruggiero. 1 frame to go. Strong showing by both of our bowlers. Both of our away bowlers, that is. Dan Gray, 119 and counting. Dan Gray's high single this season is 122. He pokes 1, a quarter Worcester on the 2. Krista, headpin, splash of 6, 4, 6, 7, 10. Gray misses the headpin to the right, leaves the T-bone in the center, the 1, 5, 8, 9. Krista on the banana split for a spare. Into the gutter, takes 2, that'll be -2. Gray, 6 box, 125, new high single for the season for Dan Gray. Krista will be -2, whatever this next frame result ends up being. Looks like it will be a 6 box for Krista. 125 for Dan Gray, 102 for Krista, although it is currently up there as an 8 box for Krista. I thought it was a 6. There's some talk down there about that. I will let you know if that changes. It looks like they're score correcting it now. It is a 100 for Krista. Okay, that is confirmed. 125 for Dan Gray, 100 for Krista Ruggiero. And now back to the home bowlers. Caitlin Zoltko will start first. A split of 7 for Caitlin. Diane Hammett with a 5 split. Caitlin Zoltko nearly uses the sidewall to leverage a pin to the right to the 6, but it takes a exit off the plate early. 4, 6, 3, 7, 10 for Diane Hammett for a spare. She's off the object pin to the right, takes the 6 and the 10, leaves the 3, the 4, and the 7. Caitlin Zoltko will take a 10 box. That will be 58 and 6 for Caitlin. Diane Hammett, 3, 4, 7 for a 10 box. She'll make it a 7. Diane with 48 after 6. Caitlin Zoltko, 58 after 6. Caitlin Zoltko, season record 28 and 56 in Class B North Division 3 out of Lakeside Lane. She's bowled 6 matches this season with an away record of 18-38, home record 10-18, season average 105, away average 106.45. There's a 9 drop for Caitlin Zoltko, leaving the 5 pin. Diane Hammett with a 3 drop, 6-pack right and the 7. Caitlin Zoltko, home average 102.10, high single 130, high series 586. She fires on the single and misses the single. Diane Hammett on a 3 drop. Oh, nudges the head pin on the object on the outside. The correct place to put it, just hit it a little light. Here's Caitlin with a 10, her 3rd in a row. That's 68 and 7 for Caitlin. And Diane with a nice out of 7. 55 after 7 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko has 9 strikes, 48 spares, 71 tens for the season, 51% perfect box percentage, and 3150 seasonal pinfall. Caitlin off to the right, drops 6. Diane will take 6 out as well, missing the head pin. Caitlin Zoltko's got the 1-2-7 on the right lane on lane 4. Diane Hammett on lane 3 has the 1-8-9-10. Caitlin Zoltko with a spare, and she'll nail that spare. Diane Hammett just narrowly off the head pin, collides with some wood, leaves the 1, the 8, and the 9. The isosceles triangle. Diane with a ball that curves right to left. She'll take an 8 box. Here's Caitlin Zoltko's spare in case you missed it. The 1-2-7 was a pretty definitive shot. A classic rundown. Caitlin Zoltko, the pitch. Head pin, drops 9, fills 9. Big fill for Caitlin Zoltko here. Diane Hammett on the pocket, thin hit. Ooh, wow. 4 drop and a split. Cluster of 5 on the right and the 7. Caitlin, oh, what a missile on that 7 pin for a spare. Diane's turn. On the 5 and the 9, leaves the 3, the 6, the 7, and the 10. Diane turns it into a 6-7 leave for an 8 for 71 and 9 for Diane. Single pin spares are important. Let's not de-emphasize how they still get you the same amount of points as any complicated mark. They don't look as exciting to get, but the precision involved for some of that, some of the psychological challenges of going for a single pin with no wood in a corner, that is not to be understated. And for the follow-up, Caitlin Zoltko now has the same leave and a fill of 9, but it's a 7 with a piece of wood this time. Diane Hammett, 1-2 pocket, drops 4 again. Another split of 4. That is the same leave as last ball, or last frame. Oops. Oh, Caitlin will take a spare. My apologies on the camera glitch there. That's 116 and a bonus for Caitlin, reclaiming some lost ground. Diane Hammett will take 2 and leave a bunch of others, leaving 4 specifically, the 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9. Caitlin Zoltko had a perpendicular piece of wood across the 7, and it went no problem. Diane Hammett with a 6, ends up being a 6. Box in the 10th. Let's assess the score. 77 for Diane Hammett is in. Caitlin Zoltko currently at 116 and a bonus. So we're not done yet. That's Kevin Davis doing some maintenance. Kevin with his crazy glasses. It'll be now Caitlin Zoltko to close out this game. Caitlin Zoltko, 4 marks, 3 in a row towards the end, filling a spare. Pocket, pounds it, 6 pins, 6 fill, 122 for Caitlin Zoltko, just narrowly under Dan Gray's 125. A difference of 3 between Dan Gray and Caitlin Zoltko. Dan Gray taking it by 3. Krista Ruggiero with a 100, taking it by 23 over Diane Hammett, 77. That's our story of the first game. We'll be setting up for game 2 here coming up. Here in the ACST doubleheader today. Steve Kelly on the call. Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire for 3-ball spare conglomerate in the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. It's great to have you along with us here on this absolutely frigid day in the Northeast. Here we go, Krista Ruggiero. Wow, a weird 5 drop. Don't know what to make of that. Dan Gray, he's working on it. 4 drop for Dan Gray. A 5 drop and a mini rack minus the 3 for Krista Ruggiero, who then pokes the 9. 5, 6, 8, 10 for Krista. Spare attempt no good. Dan Gray spare attempt no good. Something with his approach there as he hops a bit. Krista Ruggiero with the mini banana. She'll take 2 and leave 2. It'll be an 8 opener for Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray will take a 6 box. Krista Ruggiero has a season record of 42 and 70. She's bowled 8 matches. She's in Class E North Division 3 out of Academy Lanes. Away, she's 24 and 32. Home, she's 18 and 38. Season average 90.30. Away average 88.65. Home average 92.10. High single 112. High series 502. 2 strikes, 50 spares, 58 tens for Krista Ruggiero. It's a 2 drop for Krista and a 5 drop for Gray. Split for Gray. Krista off to the right and leaves 4. 4, 6, 2, 7, 10 for Gray. Gray's pitch goes straight down the middle. And Krista, she'll make it a 7. Gray makes it a 6. 12 and 2 for Gray, 15 and 2 for Ruggiero. Krista Ruggiero is a 31% perfect box percentage this season so far, with 3,615 pins down so far. She's 4th in her division and 13th in the wild card. Here's Krista. Takes 4 out. Gray, head pin, mix of 6 and a split of 6. Krista for the spare. She's on it. Oh my goodness, she almost got it. Pin curved and exited the plate before the 10 pin. A really nice attempt. Gray with a lumberyard down there, connects with one that was in the furthest back area. Takes only the 8 out, leaves the 4, the 7, and the 10. Krista, an out of 9, 24. Gray, an out of 8 for 20 in the 3rd. Here's Krista Ruggiero. 1-3 pocket, nudges 7 down, 2-4-5. Dan Gray takes 3 out in the left corner. 2-4-5 for Krista Ruggiero for a spare, a 2 triangle. Krista, it's going to be on the 5 and nothing else. Gray takes some out of the right side this time, leaves the center diamond and the 8. No marks. Krista Ruggiero is shooting for a 10 on the 2-4. Ball looks like it's mostly on, except for one. That'll be a 9 for 33 and 4. Dan Gray, that's going to be a 7 for 27 and 4. Dan Gray threw a 125 in the first game. Krista Ruggiero threw a 100 in the first game. Dan Gray narrowly taking the first game against Zoltko's 122. Krista Ruggiero victorious over Diane Hammett, 77 in the first game. It's Krista with a 4 drop and a 6-pack. On the left side, Dan Gray on the head pin. Everything but the 5 goes down. 9 drop. Krista versus the 6-pack. And it's gone. Stock up for the storm. That's a 6-pack spare for Krista Ruggiero. And Dan Gray will do the same thing, but on a single, not a 6-pack, just a single can. Can you believe it? We'll leave this half with 2 marks, 2 hanging marks. That's 37 after 5 and a bonus for Dan Gray, and 43 and a bonus after 5 for Krista Ruggiero. Currently 162, 1.5 games in for Gray, and 143, 1.5 games in for Ruggiero, pending the fills. Diane Hammett and Caitlin Zoltko up next. Diane in the red on your right will do the honors. 5 down, Kaliri right side. Caitlin Zoltko, head pin. 6 down, split. 7-10-2-4 for Caitlin. 1-3-6-8-10 for Diane Hammett. Diane Hammett on the right side, Kaliri on the pocket. The Kaliri, come on, she's hit them all. You can't be serious. And same for Caitlin Zoltko, the 10 pins, synchronized wiggling 10 pins for both. Both shots really should have been spares. Hit perfectly. Don't know why they didn't go down. And that's a nice 10 box for Diane Hammett, and Caitlin Zoltko will take a 9. They both threw it where it should have gone for the spare. Just not fair sometimes. 10 for Hammett, 9 for Zoltko. Diane Hammett, her past 5 matches, 27 points, averaging 5.4 points per match. Diane will take 6 out. Zoltko, head pin, 1-3 pocket, 5-10 leave. Hammett, just off to the left, leaves the head pin. Zoltko, 5-10, caps the wood, leaves the 5, takes the 10. Not quite the action I was expecting. Head pin for Diane. She's got it for a 10. Zoltko on the 5 for a 10, she's got it as well. 20-2 for Hammett, 19-2 for Zoltko. Here comes Diane Hammett. Taking 2 out, half Worcester left side. Caitlin Zoltko on a near lemon drop on the 4, but the 8 is taken out as well. It's a 2 drop for both bowlers. Diane. Oh, just narrowly missing the head pin on the outside. I know where that ball wanted to go, and it was the right idea. Just missed a little bit. Caitlin leaves the 1, the 2, the 6, and the 10 on the second ball. Diane Hammett, who's currently at 20 after 2. She's on the 1-3 pocket there. She'll take a 6 box. And Caitlin will take an 8 box. 27 after 3 for Caitlin Zoltko and 26 after 3 for Diane Hammett is confirmed. Hammett, 1-3 pocket, beautiful ball. Everything is down but the 9. Everything down but the kingpin. I think Caitlin is working on a lane issue at the moment. Yes, that's a respot. So we'll wait on that. Not sure if Diane will continue or will wait or something like that. Depends on this reset result. Do we have 10 pins? We have 10 pins. Caitlin Zoltko will fire now. She's off to the right. 6 up, 4 down. First ball done. Diane Hammett on deck for a 5-pin spare. Just misses it off to the right. Caitlin Zoltko. Oh, everything but the 9-pin cooperates on the spare attempt. And the 9 is in for Diane in the 4th, and Caitlin Zoltko has a 10 in the 4th. Caitlin Zoltko's at 37 after 4, and Diane Hammett 35 after 4. I'll remind you again, this is not a head-to-head match. We have the home bowlers, Caitlin Zoltko and Diane Hammett up here, and then we will have the away bowlers coming up in just another box. Caitlin Zoltko versus Dan Gray, and Diane Hammett defending against Krista Ruggiero. Diane with a 6 drop. Caitlin Zoltko with a punch and a 4-drop spread eagle. 4-6-3-7 for Diane. for the spare. She'll take 2. Caitlin, oh, come on, spread eagle spare. She's got it. Caitlin Zoltko, spread eagle for the spare. You'll love to see it. Very, very uncommon, very, very difficult spare. We'll get a replay of that in just a moment here. 44 in 5. Always love to see a spread eagle spare, and watch this as Caitlin fired on it on the 3-6 pocket, and that was how that went, and the 2 went last. Oh yeah, that was beautiful. Lovely shot. Every bowler except for Diane Hammett is on an open mark. Caitlin Zoltko 47 and a bonus after 5. Diane Hammett 44 after 5. And our other bowlers, our away bowlers, are already ready to fire. So let's get back to the action quickly. Stan Gray will mix a few down. On a spare. That looks like a 2 fill for Dan Gray. Krista Ruggiero on a spare. She'll take 3 out, a 3 fill. Dan Gray looking to recover, and he does. What a recovery by Dan Gray. Krista Ruggiero, same idea, straight through the center. 2-4, 7-10 for Krista Ruggiero for a 10 box and a 6 box guarantee. Krista will take a 6. Dan Gray 49 and a bonus in the 6th. Krista Ruggiero 52 after 6. Let's watch Dan Gray's spare. On a 3 drop on the outside of the head pin, mixed them all down. Dan Gray's ball is really working for him here at Lakeside. Dan Gray who threw a 125 in the first game. Caitlin Zoltko who threw a 122. Krista Ruggiero who threw a 100. And Diane Hammett who threw a 77. Here's Dan Gray on a spare. Pops 6. Fills 6. And a knockdown of 4 for Krista Ruggiero. Gray, just a little off the target pin. Leaves the 1 and the 10. Krista, 6-pack, outside. Takes 4 of 6, drinks responsibly. 4-7 leave. For the 110 for Dan Gray, he'll take the 1 and the 10 just barely hangs on. 64 and 7 for Dan Gray. Krista Ruggiero cleans up for a 10, 62 and 7. Gray. 6 go down, 1, 3, 6, 9. Ruggiero. 5 go down, left side Caleri. Gray on the spare. Oh, just a little off target again, leaves 2. Ruggiero on the Caleri. Same idea, same leave actually, 1-9 for both. Gray will miss it for an 8 for 72. To conclude the 8th frame, Krista Ruggiero will also miss to the right for an 8 for 70. Dan Gray, past 5 matches, 28 points take home, averaging 5.6 per match. Current streak of games over 100, unbroken is 4. Dan Gray on the 1-2 pocket drops 7. 6, 9, 10. Krista to the right, pops 2, pops 3. 6, 9, 10 leave for Dan for a spare. It's gone, evaporated. Krista Ruggiero on the outside of the head pin. Come on, connect with it right. Yes. But the 8 and the 10, hold on. It was a great ball, and that's how you should throw at that leave. Krista will clean that up for a 9 for 79 and 9. Here's Dan Gray's spare, in case you missed it, on the 6, 9, 10. The 6 triangle. Takes it out. Dan Gray is working on a spare on your right in the dark green. And he's battling Caitlin Zoltko. On a spare, he'll take a 6. Another leave of the 1-3-6-9. Krista. Take 2 out. Gray pokes the 6, leaves 3 others. Krista doesn't curve, leaves 6 in the center. Gray will take a 7. He'll conclude his second game with a 95 for a 2-game total at 220. 125 and 95. Krista Ruggiero, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9. For the 10 box, she'll make it an 8 for an out of 87 in the 8th and the 10th. For an 8 box in the 10th, that is. For a 2-game total of 187 for Krista Ruggiero. 95 and 87 are confirmed. Oops. Here's the correct screen you should be looking at. 95 for Dan Gray and 87 for Krista Ruggiero. The away bowlers are done their second games. Caitlin Zoltko and Diane Hammett return to the approaches at Lakeside Lanes on lanes 3 and 4. In just a couple of seconds here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Caitlin Zoltko will take 9 out. The 5-pin is left. A 9 on her fill. On that spread eagle spare fill, I'll have you know. Diane Hammett will take 2 out. Caitlin Zoltko on the 5 for a spare. It's another spare for Caitlin. It's in for 66 and 6 plus a bonus. Diane leaves 6 in the center diamond, and the 8 and the 9. Diane leaves the 5. That's a 9 for 53 and 6. While we're waiting, Caitlin Zoltko on the 5-pin. Sorry, couldn't quite get that queued up just in time. Here's Caitlin Zoltko working on the spare. She's going to get a mix. Ooh, a decent mix. The jack and the 8. That's a 6 fill. Diane Hammett on the 6-pin. 1, 7, 10, and the 8 for Caitlin. We'll just miss slightly off. Here's Diane Hammett. On the 1-3, beautiful ball and a nice recovery and almost a spare. Leaves the 5-pin. This will be Caitlin Zoltko for a recovery, and it will be a 6-box. 78 and 7 for Caitlin. Leaves the jack and the 8. Diane Hammett on the 5. It's gone for a 10. 63 and 7 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko currently 4th place in her division and 13th in the wild card. She's in Class B North Division 3. Bowls out of Lakeside Lanes this season and last. She's taken 28 points in her past 5 matches, averaging 5.6 per match. Caitlin Zoltko will take 6 down. That's the 3, the 5, the 6, and the 9. Here comes Diane Hammett now. To the left of the head pin. 4 go down. Caitlin on the diamond, breaks 2, leaves 2. Diane, this is looking promising on the head pin. Oh my goodness, the 10 pin again. Somehow just doesn't get touched. Caitlin will take a 9 for 87 and 8. Or Rob Gronkowski an 8. Diane will take 10 for 73 and 8, her second 10 box in a row. Caitlin fires. She'll take 4 out. Diane Hammett's on the 1-2 pocket. Oh my goodness, you got to be kidding me. It's got to be a better leave than for as good of a ball as that was. That's a 6 drop. That's the 5, 6, 7, 10. Caitlin Zoltko will break some off and leave the 5 and the 8. Diane Hammett with a leave that really should have been way better for the ball that she threw. She'll do the best she can and take the 6 and the 10, leaving the 5 and the 7. 5 and the 8 for Caitlin Zoltko. She'll make it an 8 box for 95 and 9. Diane takes the 7, leaves the 5 for a 9 box for 82 and 9. Caitlin Zoltko 68% on the head pin today, the leader of the pack so far. Here is Caitlin, who will take 5 out. The not quite Kaleri. The Kaleri clone. Right side, 4 horsemen in the 9. Here's Diane. 1-2 pocket. Oh my goodness. And once again, another beautiful ball that is just, I don't know what is up with these leaves. It's a 5 drop and a split for Diane, and Caitlin will take 1 out. Take the 6 pin out on the second ball. Spare attempt, no good. Diane Hammett on the 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Nice attempt on the 6, 10. Leaves the 5, the 7, and the 9. And Caitlin will take a 7, that's 102, for a 2-game total of 224. Caitlin will take the second game over Dan Gray's 95. And Diane, that should seal the deal for Diane, too, with a 9 box for a 91. She takes the second game over Krista Ruggiero's 87. Diane Hammett and Caitlin Zoltko taking the second game. The home bowlers taking the second game. The away bowlers took the first. So we're pretty much even Steven here in terms of points so far. Let's head to the next game here and get things going. We're moving very quickly in this doubleheader this afternoon here in the ACST in Manchester, New Hampshire at Lakeside Lanes. Glad you're watching. I'm Steve Kelly. It's Krista Ruggiero on your right and Dan Gray on the left as we start game 3. Away bowlers took the first game. Home bowlers took the second game. That's about all I can say about that. Krista Ruggiero. 8 drop, 8 mix. Dan Gray. Just to the left of the pocket. 1, 3, 7, 9. It's a 6 drop. It's the 1 of the 8 for Krista Ruggiero. Decent spare opportunity. She'll cut the wood and take the rear pin and leave the head pin. 1, 3, 7, 9 for Dan Gray. Oh, and the 7 pin doesn't get there is no contact with the 7 pin. Krista on the head pin for a 10. She's got the 10. Dan Gray to conclude the first frame with a 10 of his own. 10 after 1 for both bowlers. Krista Ruggiero in her past 5 matches, she's taken 22 points. She's averaging about 4.4 points per match in the past 5. 25-15 pinfall in those past 5. 7 drop for Krista. Dan Gray now fires, and he'll take 6 out. 4, 6, 3, 10. And it's the 4, 8, and the 10 for Krista Ruggiero on the right side, on the right lane, lane 4. Here's Krista. Connects with the wood. Not much else. Krista Ruggiero is a PE teacher. Dan Gray will take 2 and leave 2. $4, 8, 10 for Krista for a 10 box. It'll be a 7. Dan Gray will take a 9. Here comes Krista Ruggiero. That's a 4 drop. Dan Gray to the right of the head pin. He'll take 6 out. Looks like a piece of wood is rolling out of play. Should make it to the gutter, I believe. Maybe not. Might even roll back. We'll see. As Krista. False start. 5-yard penalty. Still first down. Krista will leave 2 on the plate. Kevin Davis is going down to assess the situation. Might be in, might be out, not sure. Verdict is, it's out. Thank you, Kevin Davis. Dan Gray shooting for a spare on the 1, 2, 7, 10. Leaves the 10, was on the object. Krista on the 1 and the 9. She'll leave them for an 8, 25 and 3. Dan Gray scoring drive at 10, 29 and 3. Krista Ruggiero averaging 6 points per away match, 4.5 points per home match. Her head pin average per match is 16.7. Her split average per match is 9.4. Krista 1-3 pocket, 5-8. Dan Gray. Head pin, 5-7 leave. Or 5-7 leave. 8 drop. Krista. Spare for Krista Ruggiero on the 5-8. Dan Gray will connect with the 5 and not the 7. Dan Gray will take a 10. His third 10 box of this game, aside from a 9 box, he's been perfect. He's at 39 after 4. Krista Ruggiero sits at 35 and a bonus after 4. Krista, 1-3 pocket, nice fill, 4-7-10, that's a 7 fill. Dan Gray's on the 1-2 pocket, leaves the 6-9-10. Krista takes the left half, leaves the 10. Dan Gray takes only the 10. If we mash those 2 balls together, we'd have a mark. Krista Ruggiero on the 10 pin for 10 box. Missed the 10 and it's a 9. It's a 9. 51 and 5 for Krista Ruggiero. And Dan Gray, he'll take a nice 10 box. 4 10s and a 9 for 49 for Dan Gray, and it is 51 after 5 for Krista Ruggiero with 1 mark. Both of our away bowlers have gone 3 for 5 in the head pin with 2 splits this half. Halftime total at 269 for Dan Gray. Halftime total at 238 for Krista Ruggiero. Diane Hammett on your right. Diane will pop 4 for a spread eagle. Kalen Zoltko, it's a Kaleri, not a Kaleri no more. It's a 5 drop. And a split, but not a head pin hit for Caitlin Zoltko. Diane Hammett for the spread eagle for the spare. She'll sail through the center and take the 10 in proxy. Caitlin Zoltko will leave 1 pin on her spare attempt. Nice try. It's the 4-6-2-3-7 for Diane Hammett. As she fires on it, it'll be a 5 box for Diane to start out game 3. Caitlin Zoltko will take a 9. Diane Hammett, her past 5 matches, 23.97 pins, averaging 3.8 points per away match, 8.5 points per home match. Diane Hammett averages 18.2 head pin shots per match and 10.5 splits per match. I can vouch for the splits. She's been getting a real raw deal when it comes to that. She's been having these great first balls, just not a lot to work with off of them. There's a 7 drop and a split for Caitlin and a 6 leave for Diane Hammett, 1-7-10-9. Diane, it's away. She's just a little off the object, leaves the 1 and the 10. Here's Caitlin Zoltko's spare, and she'll sweep it for the spare. 19 and a bonus after 2 for Caitlin. Diane on the 1 and the 10. A nice 10-box recovery for Diane Hammett. That's 15 after 2 for Diane Hammett and 19 and a bonus after 2 for Caitlin Zoltko. Watch this shot by Caitlin Zoltko on the, well, first of all, let's watch the first one by Diane, then Caitlin Zoltko on the 5-8-10. Sweeps it. It goes. Here we go. Diane. On the 3-6 pocket, takes 4 down. Caitlin Zoltko working on a mark. On the 1-2 pocket, takes 8 down. Maybe 9. It'll be 8. Six-pack left for Diane Hammett. As she fires on it, she takes 3 of the 6. I thought it had a chance of going. Maybe a stronger ball or a faster ball would have taken out the rest. Caitlin on the 7-10 splits. There goes the 10. 7 pin is untouched. Diane Hammett on the 4-7-8. Takes a 10. Caitlin Zoltko, it'll be a 9. 36 and 3 for Caitlin Zoltko, 25 after 3 for Diane Hammett. Diane Hammett, 11th highest Class E average, 91.1. 9th Class E total spares at 46. 4th highest Class E average spare fill at 5.6. 4th highest Class E total tens at 71. 7th highest Class E fewest average pins left at 75.8. 6 drop and a split for Diane and a split for Caitlin as well. A 7 split for Caitlin. 7-10-4. Diane first. She'll take 2. Caitlin Zoltko, will she get the 10 out of that mix? Yes, she will. Oh yeah, the dance was key. Always dance for spares, I'll tell you. John Cadero did that at Boutwell's, and that was what caused him to get a really late falling strike with the 5-pin wiggling. That match was from Boutwell's last week. There's a 9 for Diane Hammett. That's 34 after 4. Caitlin Zoltko, it's 46 after 4. Let's watch that shot by Caitlin Zoltko again if we have the time here during the pin reset. Here's Caitlin's shot. Watch. See that? See? It's all about the body language. See the coordination between the pin and Caitlin? That's how that went. Here's Diane. 1-2 pocket. 4 down. Oh, my goodness. That was a 4 split. Caitlin Zoltko on the head pin. She drops 6 and fills with 6. Caitlin says she's never made a diamond. You know, I don't either. I just don't have the materials to do so. I get them in Minecraft. That's about it. Caitlin versus the diamond. Well, she continues to not get the diamond. She leaves the 4. Just having a full conversation talking about the diamond down there now. Diane Hammett, not Diamond Hammett. Diane Hammett will take an 8 for 42 and 5. Caitlin Zoltko will take a 10 for 62 and 5. Halftime check-in, 286 for Caitlin Zoltko, 269 for Dan Gray. Dan Gray trailing by 17 in the total and trailing by 13 in the game. Krista Ruggiero, 238, trailing in the game by 9 and trailing in the game by 28 to Diane Hammett's 210. And now, Dan Gray. A statement shot, an 8 drop. And Krista Ruggiero on the head pin and an ugly 5-7-10 split with no wood. Ugh. Dan Gray, 2-7. Maybe, maybe, maybe not. It was looking hopeful for a second, even though he missed the 2. The piece of wood almost came to take it. Here's Krista Ruggiero on the 5-7-10. The 5 is taken out, and nothing else. The object pin, the best you really could have done with that, honestly. Dan Gray will take a 9, 58-6. Krista, 7-10 split for an 8 box. That's 59-6 for Krista. I hope they put that in the scoreboard down there. Dan Gray is missing a box down there off screen. I'm sure they will catch up to that. Dan Gray seems to have noticed. Don't know if the score operator has put it in on the keyboard just yet. There it is. It is a 9 box. 58 after 6 for Dan Gray and 59 after 6 for Krista Ruggiero. Gray crosses over, drops 4. 6-pack. Krista Ruggiero doesn't cross over. 5 drop. Maybe another off the Caleri. 1, 2, 4, 9. 6 drop. And Dan Gray will leave a pile of 5 on the right. The 3 diamond and the 10. It's the 1, 2, 4, 9 for Krista Ruggiero, meanwhile. It's away on the head pin. Oh, the 4 pin gets, it just gets grazed. Dan Gray will take a 6 box. Yikes. Fought hard for that. 64-7. Krista Ruggiero on the 4 pin. 9 or 10. On the head pin, takes a 9. It'll be 68-7 for Krista Ruggiero now. Yes, correct. Krista Ruggiero currently 48% on the head pin. Dan Gray 44. No, excuse me. Reading the wrong stat. Yes, 48% for Dan Gray on the head pin as well. 6 drop for Dan Gray. Krista Ruggiero. To the right of the head pin, we'll take 3 out. 6, 9, 10 taken out for Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray's left with the 1, the 3, the 8, and the 9. Here comes Gray, outside of the head pin. Wow, that's a raw deal of a shot on an object pin. Krista, object pin as well, and a bit of a light hit, leaves the 2, 5, 8. Dan Gray makes it a 9, 73-8. 2, 5, 8 for Krista Ruggiero. Result of the play ends up being an 8 box for 76-8. 293 for Gray, 263 for Krista Ruggiero. As we go into the last 2 boxes of Game 3 of 5 games today in this match. It's a doubleheader, 2 matches for the price of 1. Free dollars. Dan Gray fires on lane 4, 1-3 pocket, powerful hit and a powerful strike. Haven't seen those in a while from Dan Gray, but we're back. Oh, we're back. We're so back. Krista Ruggiero off to the right, mixes down 7, 1, 2, 8. For the follow-up here. Krista, oh, that ball, its baseline was a little bit more to the left than it probably should have been. She started right in the center and crossed over. Probably maybe taking a step to the right probably would have course corrected that. But it is what it is. Krista for the retry. There is the 10 box for Krista. That's 86 and 9. And if we can watch Dan Gray strike, let's watch this. Beautiful execution by Dan Gray. Look at that. So good. So good. Dan Gray's working on a strike. Dan Gray fires on the 3-6 pocket, and he's going to mix down 5. 5 so far in that strike fill. Krista doesn't cross over this time. I think she kind of understood where that ball went last box, but she overcorrected a little bit. That's a 4 drop for Krista. Dan Gray, he misses the object and leaves the object. We've heard that story many times. Not only in this match, but in plenty of other matches. Seems to be a common theme. Krista Ruggiero leaves the 6, the 8, and the 10. It'll be Dan Gray with a 9 fill on the strike and a 9 box. That will put him at 101, at least over the triple-digit threshold. Krista Ruggiero on the 6, 8, 10. Oh, just slides off for a 7. That'll be a 93 for Krista. 3 games done. 101 is confirmed for Dan, and 93 is confirmed for Krista Ruggiero. That's 321 for Dan Gray, 3 games done, a 5. And Krista Ruggiero, 280, 3 games in, 3 games done, a 5. Entering the last quarter of the 3rd game here. Diane Hammett and Caitlin Zoltko coming up next. It's a cold day in Manchester, New Hampshire at Lakeside Lanes. Panic bowling before the storm. We're measuring the total snowfall in feet rather than inches to give you an idea of how crazy things potentially might be. Caitlin Zoltko will split 7. It's the 5, 7, 10. Diane Hammett. Oh, just too perfect on the head pin. Spread eagles with a 4 drop. Caitlin, 5, 7, 10 leaves. She misses the target. Missed the exhaust port on the target with the proton torpedoes. Here comes Diane Hammett. Spread eagle. Attempt. Left wing. Cleared. Right wing not cleared. Caitlin Zoltko on the 5, 7, 10. She takes everything but the 7. That will be a 9 box for Caitlin for 71 and 6. Diane Hammett on the 3, 6, 10. Fires. Leaves the 3 pin for a 9. 51 and 6 for Diane Hammett now. Caitlin Zoltko's been perfect on the head pin this game except for the first box. Diane Hammett's been perfect except for boxes 2 and 3. Caitlin Zoltko will take down 4. And Diane will take 2 out. Caitlin takes 2, leaves 4. Diane after a 2 drop. Looking good on the pocket, little light, leaves 5 on deck, on stage. Caitlin Zoltko will take a 6 box, 77 and 7. 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 for Diane Hammett. As she fires on it, she'll take 2 out and leave 3. That'll be a 7 box for Diane Hammett for 58 and 7. It's 301 for Caitlin Zoltko, averaging over 100 as of now. Diane Hammett at 226. Almost 3 games done with 3 frames to go. Caitlin, 1-3 pocket, mixes 7 down, mixes 8 down, avoids the split stat. Diane Hammett, straight on the head pin. Oh, 6 drop with the 10 pin shifting a bit. 4, 6, 7, 10. Caitlin Zoltko. Oops. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Clicked totally the wrong thing, but that is a spare. Long story short for Caitlin Zoltko on the 4-7. 87 and a bonus after 8 for Caitlin. Diane Hammett on the banana split. Can she cut it over? Oh, it's a good attempt. Leaves the 6 and the 10. 87 and a bonus for Caitlin Zoltko as Diane Hammett is looking at an 8 box or greater, trying to get to 68 after 8. Diane stays on for a 9, 67 after 8. As we go into the last 2 boxes here, Caitlin Zoltko's at 87 after 8 with 311 plus a fill. Diane Hammett 235 with 67 after 8. Chasing Krista Ruggiero's 280, Caitlin Zoltko was trying to get to 321. Caitlin Zoltko will punch 5, spread eagle, minus the 7, and a 5 fill. It's Diane Hammett's turn next. Oh, a nice hit on the pocket. She leaves the 4 and the 5. An 8 drop and a split, technically. Caitlin will try to clear the whatever spread eagle-ish shot that was. She leaves the 2 and the 3. Diane Hammett, 4-5 for a spare shot. Starting now. Not quite. Caitlin Zoltko will take out the last 2 pins for a 10. And Diane Hammett, looking at a 9 or 10, trying to get to 77. It will be 77 by the looks of it. Yes, with that 10 box. 77 and 9 for Diane Hammett and 102 and 9 for Caitlin Zoltko. Caitlin Zoltko currently at 326 for a triple, surpassing Dan Gray's 321 with 1 frame to go at the end of the third, as Diane Hammett's at 245 to Krista Ruggiero's 280 with 1 frame to go. Here's a 5 drop for Caitlin Zoltko with a Kaleri on the left side. Nope, not a Kaleri. Head pin falls, 6 drop now. Diane. 5 drop on the right side, the not Kaleri. None of these shots are Kaleris. Caitlin Zoltko into the void, down the center. 2 perfect. 3 perfect. Diane misses the object pin. The head pin just slightly to the left. It'll be Caitlin Zoltko for a 10 box. She'll make it a 7 for 109 for a 3-game total of 333 with that 109. She will take the 3rd game against Dan Gray's 101. Diane Hammett, she will not take the 3rd game to Krista Ruggiero's 93. She'll take an 8 box for an 85 in the 3rd game. End of game 3 of 5 here. It's currently 4 points for Caitlin Zoltko and 4 points for Krista Ruggiero at the end of 3, with 2 points with 2 frames to go. Archiving game 3 and moving on to game 4 here on the ACST you're watching. I'm Steve Kelly. Great to have you along. We're in Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, which you should totally visit one of these days if you ever get the opportunity to. In the area, out of the area, come visit Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, run by great people, owned by Tim Lipke, his son Shane Lipke. Great place to bowl. Great place to bowl. And Krista Ruggiero will take a Kaleri. Dan Gray, another hop on his approach. He was not happy with that. He punches 1. Krista Ruggiero on a 5 drop, Kaleri right side. She'll fire. She's going to be a little bit off the head pin. She'll leave. The head pin will go eventually, but it won't be the shot she's looking for. She'll leave the 8 and the 10. Dan Gray will leave the 2, the 7, and the 8 after everything mixes down. No marks for either bowler. They're both looking at 8 boxes or greater. It's Krista Ruggiero on the 8 of the 10. Pick a stick or play the wood. Fancy. Takes a 9. Dan Gray, 2 pieces of wood in front of the 7 and the 8. The 7 goes, the 8 does not. They both result in 9 boxes. Krista Ruggiero in her past 5 matches, she has thrown 2 strikes, 41 spares, 43 tens. Here comes Krista. 1-2 pocket, and she'll take a strike. There we go. Beautiful shot by Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray's opening ball is a 2 drop. Takes out the 4 and the 7. Gray punches the center a little bit too full, leaves the 2, the 6, the 9, and the 10. 6 box or greater for Dan Gray. It becomes an 8 box for Dan for 17 after 2. Here's Krista Ruggiero's strike in case you missed it. That crossover ball hit the 1-2 pocket just perfectly. And Dan Gray will nearly respond with a strike, but he'll take a 7-10 split. Krista Ruggiero is still working on her strike fill. It's a 4 drop so far. For the strike fill, for the completion, it'll be at least a 7, and it will be a 7 fill. 1-3-6 for Krista Ruggiero. 7-10 lead for Dan Gray for a spare. The attempt takes the center wood straight back. Krista, nice 10 box, 36-3. Dan Gray, 9 box, 26-3. Krista on the 3 and the 9 for a 2 drop and a half Worcester right side. Dan Gray, half Worcester left side. I like symmetry. Here's Krista Ruggiero on the half Worcester attempt. Sails into the hole. Hopefully Dan Gray doesn't do the same. Here we go. Oh no, I said don't do the same. Both bowlers do the same. For 2 boxes straight. Well, bowlers really just kind of having out-of-body experiences with those. Krista Ruggiero connects with the head pin there, and she'll take a nice out of 6 by the looks of it. Dan Gray will take an out of 7. 33-4 for Dan Gray, 42-4 for Krista Ruggiero. Here's Krista to the left of the head pin. A mini rack, 4 down, 6 up. Dan Gray will take 6 out. It's like the mini bowling set, the miniature 6-pin bowling set for Krista Ruggiero. Like the ones they sell in toy stores, or the ones you could like step on a little pedal to reset because they're all on strings on the bottom. And Krista versus the mini were actually the 6 and the 10. Dan Gray, oh, he'll miss the head pin slightly to the right, looking down as he checks his slide. Krista will take a 9. Dan will take a 6. Halfway through the 4th game for Dan Gray, he's at 39 for a 3.5 game total of 360. Krista Ruggiero, 51 after 5 midway through game 4 for a 3.5 game total of 331. Back to Caitlin Zoltko and Diane Hammett when we return here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, Class B&E North, lanes 3 and 4 in Manchester, New Hampshire. Diane Hammett on your right, Caitlin Zoltko on your left. Diane takes a few out, 3 drops so far. Caitlin Zoltko narrowly grazes the head pin for a 6 split. Diane on a 3 drop. No contact. Caitlin Zoltko connects with the 8, leaves the 3-6-10. Diane makes it a 7. Caitlin makes it a 9. Diane Hammett, her past 5 matches, 3 strikes, 34 spares, 47 tens. 4 pinfall wins this season. Diane Hammett with a 6 drop and a banana split. Caitlin with a working box, a 4 drop. It's the 4, 6, 7, 10 with 3 planks of wood. Which wood to play is the question. Diane has made her choice. It's away. She chooses the right side. Takes only the right side. Caitlin on the head pin, blows up everything but the 4. Diane for a 10. It looks like she'll clean it up. She will for a 10 for 17 after 2, and so will Caitlin for 19 after 2. Diane Hammett will take 6 out. Caitlin Zoltko on the head pin. 7 pin. Oh, you got to be kidding me. It holds on for dear life. Solid attempt by Caitlin Zoltko for a strike. 7 pin just didn't feel like it. Diane Hammett on the, whatever that was. It's not quite a spare, but it was the right kind of ball. Actually, even I got fooled. I really thought that 10 pin had made the connection. Diane is throwing these great spare balls. It's just not much is coming out of them just in terms of the mix action. Sort of that principle of, you throw a ball at Candlepin. The most you can do is release it to the best of your ability and aim it pre-release. Anything after that, it's out of your control. Caitlin Zoltko is 67% of the head pin today. Diane Hammett is 45% of the head pin today. So far. Diane Hammett's on the head pin. Caitlin Zoltko's on the head pin. Caitlin Zoltko drops 8 and splits 8. And Diane Hammett takes 7 down with a 6 triangle. Hammett will fire first on the 6 triangle. And she's got a spare. Yes. Caitlin Zoltko, and she's got a spare. 2 stereo spares. Actually, both of our home bowlers have actually sort of been bowling in stereo, except for the first frame. They sunk up for boxes 2, 3, and 4 with 2 marks. It's 38 and a bonus after 4 for Caitlin Zoltko and 36 a bonus after 4 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko is dealing with a pin issue. After a reset, these balls are obviously not counting for anything. We're just trying to clear the lane out to get back to the action. A respot. An extended respot is basically what that was. Probably a double load. We'll see if this reset causes any more trouble. Looks like it's going to be okay. All right. Diane Hammett will fire first, and she's working on a spare. 1-3 pocket. Good fill. Split a 7. Caitlin Zoltko will take 8. 4-7. 4-5-7 for Diane Hammett. She'll miss it. Caitlin, oh my goodness. Caitlin will connect with the wood and it just spins in front of the 4-7. Diane Hammett still got the 4-5-7 to work with. I think with Diane, I probably would have, on the second ball, gone for that wood on the right, maybe the left side cap to bounce off the right sidewall. 10 for Caitlin, 9 for Diane. And with that, we are halfway through the fourth game. It's 39 after 5 for Dan Gray, down by 17 to Caitlin Zoltko's 56. Krista Ruggiero, 51, down by 1 to Diane Hammett's 52. 360 for Gray, 389 for Zoltko, 331 for Ruggiero, and 305 for Diane Hammett. Back to the away bowlers. Dan Gray and Krista Ruggiero coming up next. Dan Gray will take 6 out. Krista Ruggiero. Head pin. Come on, strike. Yeah, Krista Ruggiero with a nice, well-earned strike. And Dan Gray, he'll spare up that mess all the same. Nice job by both bowlers. 49 in a bonus and 6 for Gray, and 61 in a bonus and 6 for Ruggiero. Great marks all around. It's Dan Gray on lane 4. He'll fill his spare with this next ball. Here we go. Oh, and it'll be 2 for Dan Gray. Half Worcester left. Ruggiero on the 1-2 pocket for the double strike. It's a promising shot. She'll take 7 so far. Next ball for the strike fill conclusion. Dan Gray will punch through the center. 5 up, 5 down. Krista Ruggiero's got the 2, the 5, and the 7. It could go. Just got to hit your target. Krista will take the 7 for an 8 fill on the strike. 69 and 6 for Krista Ruggiero. It's 51 and 6 for Dan Gray. Dan Gray for an out of 6. 57 and 7 now. Krista, an 8 box for 77 in 7. Dan Gray in his past 5 matches, 13 strikes, 45 spares, 54 tens. 3 matches in a row greater than or equal to 500 this season so far. He'll drop 4 here with a spread eagle. Krista on lane 3. We'll take the rear triangle. Gray will take the left half of the bird, leave the right half, 3, 6, 10. Krista is on the head pin, a little thin, leaves a diamond. Dan Gray for a 10 box, a nice cleanup for 67 and 8. 2, 4, 5, 8 for Krista Ruggiero. Krista will nearly break the diamond, touch all 4. It's a 9 box, 86 and 8 for Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray on average is 19.5 out of 50 on the head pin. 10 splits per match on average, 10.5 to be exact. 33rd highest Class B average at 102.2. And there's a strike for Dan Gray. Well done. Second mark of the game for Dan Gray. Krista Ruggiero with 2 strikes this game. She's going to mix down 6. 4 standing in the center. 1, 2, 5, 8. Krista on lane 3. She'll miss it off to the right. Krista is thinking long and hard about this shot. She's done thinking, she's firing. And it was a nice ball. She left the 2 for a 9 box. It'll be for 95 and 9 for Krista. Here's the strike for Dan Gray while we're waiting. Great ball. Great, great, great ball. Look at that. 6 and 10 fall last. Here's the follow-up. For the double on the 1-2 pocket, Dan Gray might get some mix action. He'll take 7 out so far. Here's Krista. She'll take 4 out. Gray, 9 on the strike. Not bad. Big 19 in the 9th. Puts him at 86 and 9. Krista Ruggiero for a spare shot. She'll sail into the void. Dan Gray 9 or 10. It ends up being a 9. 95 fourth game for a 4-game total of 416. Krista Ruggiero 1-7-10-2 4-6. Oh, and a nice out on the 1-2 pocket. She'll take 8. Nice recovery for a 103 for Krista Ruggiero. That's her wall of defense against Diane Hammett. Dan Gray's defense is 95 in the 4th for a 4-game total of 416. Like I said before, Krista Ruggiero 383 4 games in. Those strikes by Krista Ruggiero also in this game, those are noteworthy right there. Those are great, great throws. It's going to be Caitlin Zoltko and Diane Hammett coming up next here to close out Game 4 before we move into the 5th and final game of this doubleheader today in Manchester, New Hampshire at Lakeside Lanes. Happy to have you along with us. Here's Caitlin Zoltko to continue the journey. She'll mix 7 and split 7. Diane Hammett next on lane 3. She'll take 3 out in the rear on the right side. And Caitlin will take 2 in the middle and leave 1 on the right. The 10 pin. Diane Hammett shooting for a spare here after a 3 drop on the first ball. She'll take 2. Caitlin Zoltko for a 10. It'll be a miss for a 9, 65 and 6. And Diane Hammett's on the 1-3-5, 4 and 7. It'll be a 5 box, 57 and 6 for Diane Hammett. I think waiting on the official score to go in off screen. Just waiting on that. Was a 5 box according to my count. We'll catch up on that if that changes. Caitlin Zoltko will drop 2. Half Worcester right side. It is a 5 box, 57 and 6 for Diane Hammett. And now for box 6, first ball. She takes 3 out. 6-pack right in the 7. Caitlin, ooh, wow, that's a weird shot. That was a weird shot. Diane Hammett on the head pin. Another weird shot. Just faces right through. Both the second ball for both of our home bowlers. Just kind of some rip-off shots here. Caitlin Zoltko for the out. It'll be 7, 72 and 7. Diane Hammett, the 3, 5, 6, 7, 10. 5 box or greater. Oh, a nice curve inwards. That'll be a 7 for Diane Hammett for 64 in 7. Caitlin Zoltko this season, her past 5 matches, 9 strikes, 48 spares, 71 tens. And she'll take 1 out here on the 6 pin. Diane looking to curve inward from the right. She'll mix down 7 eventually, 1, 7, and 9. Caitlin, after the 6 drop first ball, leaves the 4, 7, 10 on the second ball. Diane looking to spare this up. Can't quite take the head pin out. Caitlin for a 10. She'll make it a 9. 81 and 8 for Caitlin Zoltko. And Diane, it becomes a 10 for 74 and 8. 2 boxes to go before we conclude Game 4 and move on to Game 5, the final game in this doubleheader series today at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Caitlin Zoltko will take 2 out, half Worcester left. Diane takes 2 out, the 4 and the 8. Caitlin on the Worcester. Overcorrects to the right. Leaves the 1, the 5, the 4, the 7, and the 10. Here's Diane Hammett, who took the 4 and the 8 out on the first ball. The curve doesn't quite go inward. She leaves the 1, the 2, the 5, and the 7. Zoltko for the 10 box. She's just looking to clean this up. Maybe a 7, maybe an 8. It will be an 8 for 89 and 9. One, 2, 5, 7 for Diane Hammett as she looks to take this 10. That 7 pin is wiggling. It doesn't fall. That's an 83 and 9 for Diane Hammett with that 9 box. Diane Hammett has to get to 103, needs a mark to do it. A mark and a 10 fill at the very least. Caitlin Zoltko needs to get to 95. She does not need a mark to get to that point against Dan Gray. Caitlin will take 4 out, 6 packs so far on the left side for Caitlin Zoltko on the first ball. Diane Hammett, left side, mixing on the 3 pin. Originally, it becomes a drop of 6 for Diane Hammett in a must-mark situation. And Caitlin will mix down a couple more and leave 3 cans of the 6-pack, the 1, the 2, and the 5. Is the 1, the 6, the 8, and the 10 for Diane Hammett. Sparing this is a must to take 2 points this game. Ends up being a little bit off, so that will be the 4th game for Krista Ruggiero. Caitlin will take an 8. Still will be enough to take game 4. 897 up by 2 over Dan Gray's 95. It is enough. Diane Hammett will take an 8 box for a 91. 91 and 97 is confirmed, and the 95 and the 103 is also confirmed. Okay, so Dan Gray will fall to Caitlin Zoltko by 2 pins in this 4th game, 95 to 97 respectively. 416 for Dan Gray. Caitlin Zoltko up in the total by 14 with a 430. Krista Ruggiero, 383, Diane Hammett, 34. It's a total of plus 39 for Krista Ruggiero, and Krista Ruggiero will take the 4th game by 12. In this ACST match, as we move on to Game 5 here on the tour in Manchester, New Hampshire today. Doubleheader. Steve Kelly on the call. Great to have you along. Let's play some more bowling. It's Krista Ruggiero next. She'll take 3 out. Dan Gray will take some out. 5 out to be exact. Neither bowler on the head pin. Krista's off to the right, takes only the 6 on the second ball. Dan Gray's got the 1, the 3, the 7, the 9, and the 10 for a spare. It looks good. Come on, 8 pin. It was good on paper. Great ball. I thought it was gone. 9 pin stays. It's Krista Ruggiero for a 10 box. Ooh. It'll be a 4, I believe. Yes, it will be a 4. Dan Gray on the 9 pin for a 10 box. Wants to avoid that wood in the center. He does. He takes a 10 after 1. Krista Ruggiero has a couple of superlatives, like the 12th highest Class E average at 90.3, the 9th highest Class E high series at 502, the 8th highest Class E total spares at 50, the 7th highest Class E perfect box percentage at 31, the 10th highest Class E total tens at 58, and the 9th highest Class E fewest average pins left at 77.3. There's a 5 drop for Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray all the while. On the head pin, yes, he'll take 7 out. That's a 3 triangle. 3, 5, 9, 10 for Krista. She fires. She's going to be a little bit off. And as Dan Gray on the 3, 5, 6, Let's see what he can do with this. Yes, he'll spare that up, no problem. And Krista will make it a 9 box by the looks of it. 13 and 2 for Ruggiero, and 20 and a bonus after 2 for Dan Gray as he takes the 6, the 3, the 5, and the 6. That triangle spare by Dan Gray on the 3-6 pocket. Here comes Krista Ruggiero. Oh, it's going to be a little bit off. 1 drop on the 6-pin. It's going to be Dan Gray on lane 3, filling a spare coming up here. 1-3 pocket, nice shot, maybe a 9 fill. It would be great if an extra pin could fall, but it will be an 8 fill to his dismay. Here comes Krista on the follow-up. Takes a few more out, working box. Dan Gray's got 2 pins. I would play the pin on the right, or he'll sail through the center. So after a great 8 fill for Dan Gray, he's now looking at an 8, 9, or 10 box. It's a 4 drop for Krista Ruggiero thus far. Looking to get out of this box with dignity. She sure does with a 9. 22 after 3 for Krista Ruggiero. And Dan Gray, oh, that was almost pretty. He'll wiggle the last pin. By proxy, the wood for a 9 box. That'll be 37 after 3 for Dan Gray. Recently, Krista Ruggiero faced Chris Salmons in round 9. She had a rough day. She didn't take any points. She had a 440 series with a 99, 85, 89, 87, and 80. Much better day today, though. Krista Ruggiero will pop a few. With 5 so far. Dan Gray on the head pin, drops 9. The 5 pin is all that's left. Krista, a little bit too much to the left, crossing over, leaving the 1 and the 2. Dan Gray on the single. Looks good. It is good. Dan Gray, single pin, 5 pin spare. Krista Ruggiero for an 8, 9, or 10. It will be an 8 for 30 after 4 for Krista. 1 box to go before we swap bowlers. This will be the final first half of the match for Krista Ruggiero and Dan Gray. And here comes Krista. On the pocket. Oh, everything but the 6. Almost a strike ball. Dan Gray's filling a spare. Dan Gray off to the right. He'll fill with 5. Krista on a single. Oh, yeah, she's got it for the spare. No problem for Krista Ruggiero. And Dan Gray, he'll poke the head pin and only the head pin. He leaves the 2, 4, 7, and 10. Looking to get something out of this. It'll be a 6 for Dan Gray. That'll be 58 after 5 for Mr. Gray. So Krista Ruggiero on an open mark, 40 after 5, plus a bonus, 423, 4.5 games in. Dan Gray, 58 after 5, 474, 4.5 games in. And now for the final first halves of the day by Caitlin Zoltko and Diane Hammett coming up next here on the ACST. Diane Hammett will fire first. Head pin, 7 drop. Caitlin Zoltko will come in from the corner and take a 9 drop. The 7 pin is left. Here's Diane for the spare bid. And she'll take it, yes! Oh, 2 spares in a row. Nice job for both of our bowlers. All right, I couldn't quite get Caitlin's because she fired so quickly after Diane's, but I'll see if I can see what we can do on this replay here. Diane, though, Diane's was a very impressive one. And then Caitlin got the single while we were transitioning back to the back camera. Beautiful, beautiful shot by both of our bowlers. Here's Diane Hammett on a spare. I'll leave it on the back camera for now in case Caitlin fires quickly. That's a 5 fill for Diane. It's a Kaleri. And an 8 drop for Caitlin Zoltko, not in the head pin. 1 in the 8 left on the deck. Kaleri right side for Diane Hammett as she fires. Looking good. Oh, just a little bit too full. Caitlin Zoltko, oh, on the head pin also just a little bit stuffed by the wood. No marks in the second for either of our bowlers here. It'll be Diane Hammett for a 7 box or greater with 15 after 1, followed by a 9 box. And Caitlin Zoltko also with a 9 box, followed by 18 after 1, 27 after 2 for Caitlin Zoltko, and 24 after 2 for Diane Hammett. Diane Hammett, this is her first time on my program. She recently faced Chris Curley in round 11 with a 440 series through an 86, 93, 87, 87, and another 87. That's a lot of 87s. Must be a fan of Rob Gronkowski. No strikes, 4 spares, 9 tens that match. She'll drop 7. She'll drop 8 there. Caitlin Zoltko on the head pin drops 8 as well. It's Diane Hammett on the 3 and the 6. She'll take that out for the spare. And Caitlin Zoltko also with a spare. Dueling spares in box 1 and box 3 for both bowlers. 37 after 3 plus a fill for Caitlin Zoltko. 34 after 3 plus a fill for Diane Hammett. Seven marks so far thrown by all 4 bowlers this half. And Diane Hammett will mix 5 down. On the head pin, no less. Caitlin Zoltko will take a 9 fill, a nice 9 fill. It's Diane Hammett on the 4, 6, 7, 8, 10. Diane will take the 3 on the left. Caitlin Zoltko just missing the single pin just to the right of the 4 pin. Killer. It's killer when you miss by just a little bit. It's a very precise game. It's a very unforgiving game, Candlepin. There's a 10 for Diane and a 9 for Zoltko. 55 and 4 for Caitlin Zoltko and 49 after 4 for Diane Hammett. 1 box to go to end the first half of the final game for every bowler. And then we'll go into the 3rd quarter of the 5th game. Krista Ruggiero currently has the biggest lead in the total. And currently Diane will drop 6. And Caitlin Zoltko will take 7 down. Both bowlers missed the head pin. It's the 1-3-6-8 for Diane. Caitlin Zoltko's got the 1-7-9. Diane Hammett just slightly off the head pin. Caitlin Zoltko on the head pin, but too full on the head pin. No mark for either bowler here. Here comes Diane, 7, 8, 9, or 10. Becomes a 9. Caitlin, it becomes a 10. And it's your halftime update for the final game. It's Dan Gray, 58 versus Caitlin Zoltko, 65. Krista Ruggiero, 40 and a fill to Diane Hammett's 58. After 5, it's 474 for Dan Gray, 495 for Caitlin Zoltko, 423 for Krista Ruggiero, plus a fill, and Diane Hammett's 402. So the stage is set here for the final 5 boxes. It's a difference of 21 in favor of Caitlin Zoltko and plus 7 for Caitlin Zoltko in the game. Here's Dan Gray as he mixes down 1. Diane Hammett is down in the total by 21, but up in the game by 18 against Krista Ruggiero. Here's Krista Ruggiero on the pocket. Nice shot and a great fill of 8 on that fill. That'll help with the total differential. Dan Gray on the recovery. Oh, yeah, that is a recovery. That's a nice spare. Thunder spare by Dan Gray, his 3rd of the game. Krista Ruggiero's got the 5 and the 10 with some wood. That might help. We'll see what happens. Will it catch? Oh, yes. Excellent shot by Krista Ruggiero. That was beautiful. Let's watch this. Look at the shot by Krista. That kick of the wood. Oh, yes. The wood helped place the 5-pin directly horizontally, but not too far back to take the 10. Because that 5-pin is not that much ahead of the 10. There's a Caleri for Dan Gray on his spare fill. Krista Ruggiero is working on a 2nd mark in a row and a spare fill here. Oh, this ball looks, for a second it looks good. The tail on it was a little bit rough. She'll take 3 on the spare. Dan Gray on the Caleri will take 3. No mark. It's the 1 diamond and the 6 triangle for Krista Ruggiero. As Krista fires on it. She'll take the back triangle. She'll leave the center diamond. Dan Gray is shooting for a 10 box. And it's going to be a 7 box for Dan Gray. For 80 and 7. Krista will take 8. 69 and 7. Here comes Dan Gray. A little bit off to the right, gets some back row action. It's a 4-drop after everything mixed down. Here's Krista Ruggiero. It's a nice hit on the head pin. 6-drop, 4-6, 3-10. Dan Gray with a berserker ball on the pocket, leaves the 5. Very similar throw to a different kind of spare he threw from earlier. Didn't quite work out this time. Krista Ruggiero, she tries to cut the 3rd pin on the right side to the left side, but it doesn't connect with the 4-pin. Ugh. What the heck just happened there? Sorry about that. I don't know what button I just pressed. That's a 10 box for Dan Gray. You want to see a big stretch scoreboard, there you go. There's a 10 box for Krista Ruggiero all the while. Thank goodness for Command Z. That's a 9. That's a 10 box and 90 after 8 for Dan Gray and 79 after 8 for Krista Ruggiero. Dan Gray has gone 3 for 8 on the head pin with 1 split. Krista Ruggiero has gone 4 for 8 on the head pin with 2 splits this game. Here's Dan Gray, pokes 2 on the right side, half Worcester. Here's Krista. 7-10, 3-6. 6 drop, 6 split. Gray off to the right, leaves 4. Krista, 3-6-7-10. For the attempt, and the ball just, it was on target briefly and then it sailed off to the left. Dan Gray will take a 9. Three, 6, 7, 10 for Krista Ruggiero. Krista will make that a hard-fought 9 for 88 and 9 for Krista Ruggiero. 99 and 9 for Dan Gray. Dan Gray for the day, 3 strikes, 10 spares, 9 tens. 1 more box to go. Head pin. 6 split. And now Krista Ruggiero on lane 3. 1-2 pocket. A decent mix. 5-10. Krista's favorite kind of leave with wood. She made it once before. Dan Gray pokes the 3, only the 3. So this leave for Krista, yeah, the wood is in a great place right now. Red line that wood. Or try that. Oh, yeah, that 2 ways to get it. That was one of them. Spare for Krista Ruggiero and a 7 box for Dan Gray. Dan Gray will finish with a 106 and a 522 5-game total. Krista Ruggiero 98 plus a fill for 481 and counting. Currently, the lead for Krista Ruggiero in the total is at 79 plus a fill. And it will be a 3 fill for Krista Ruggiero to finish off her day here at Lakeside on the road. 484 5-game total for Krista Ruggiero, 187, 93, 103, and 101. Dan Gray 125, 95, 101, 95, and 106 for a 522 series. So Dan Gray has a lead of 27 in the total. Caitlin Zoltko may be able to overcome that. She's down in the game by 41. Krista Ruggiero has a lead of 82 in the total and a lead in the game by 43 to set the stage for the final 5 boxes for the home bowlers here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire on the ACST. Steve Kelly in the call. It's great to have you along with us. I hope you enjoyed this match today. If you want to see more, check out the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook as well as YouTube. If you want to see more of the content I make, check out 3 Ball Spare on Facebook and YouTube and Kick and Twitch and Reddit. Links in the description, yada, yada, yada. Caitlin Zoltko will drop 5. Diane Hammett on the head pin. Split 6, 3, 7, 9, 10. Caitlin Zoltko will miss the object and leave the object. It'll be Diane Hammett versus the 7, the 9, and the 10. And the 3, I guess. Here we go. Oh, and a weird spin of the wood. The 3 and the 7 are uncontested. Caitlin Zoltko will leave the head pin uncontested for a 9 for 74 and 6. Diane Hammett on the 3 and the 7 for an 8, 9, or 10 box here. Ends up becoming an 8. 66 in 6 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko averages 25.4 for 50 head pins per match, 13 splits on average per match. Caitlin Zoltko pounds the pocket, drops 9. Avoids the 7-10 split. 10 pin is the shot for the spare. Diane Hammett next. 1-2 pocket. Oh, my goodness. And another one of these weird leaves where it was like a strike-worthy ball. It's a light hit. 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko on the single pin spare with wood. She's got it. Now Diane Hammett with a difficult conversion up ahead. An honorable attempt leaves the 5 and the 7. And Diane almost cuts the 5 into the 7. If it was maybe another like millimeter to the left, it would have gone. But that'll be an 8 box for Diane Hammett. That puts her at 74 after 7 and 84 and a bonus in 7 for Caitlin Zoltko. And Caitlin will mix down 7. And Diane will mix down 7. Neither bowler on the head pin. Didn't seem to matter all that much. Here's Caitlin missing the object, leaving the 1 and the 8. Diane Hammett's got the 1, the 3, and the 7 for a spare. Let's watch this. That ball is going to go a little bit too much to the right and won't curve in. I think that's the kind of ball Diane throws, but the curve doesn't seem to engage all that often. And maybe just some fine-tuning on that will really make it a great ball in the future. Caitlin Zoltko making that a 1 and an 8 leave for an 8 box. Diane on the head pin there, leaving the 3 and the 7 for an 8 as well. 99 and 8 for Caitlin Zoltko and 82 and 8 for Diane Hammett. Caitlin Zoltko currently at 529, and she has overtaken the total. She will take an additional 4 points on the total. She's down in the 7. She's down by 7 in the game, so she is on track to have a big 6-pointer here in the 5th game. Diane Hammett, though, not so lucky, down by 58 in the total and down by 19 in the game. The game is still attainable. The total, I don't know. That's an 2-drop for Caitlin Zoltko, excuse me, and Diane Hammett. That'll be a mix down to 5. 4, excuse me. Caitlin, head pin pocket, pops all but the 4. Diane, that ball curved inward. Oh, she took all but a sleeper. Great attempt. I think it's just a little bit of a power factor on that ball, too. Caitlin will take a 10. 109.9 for Caitlin Zoltko for 5:39 so far with one more box to go. Caitlin Zoltko's reclaimed the total in the game in the 5th. Diane Hammett will take a 10. 92.9. For Diane Hammett, she needs 9 to take the game. That is possible. She's down by 48 in the total, and I'm afraid a triple strike will not be enough to overcome that. But you can keep it close. Diane Hammett has at least 2 points. She can take 4 if she can have a 10 box. And 3 points with a 9 box. Caitlin, off to the right, takes 3 out. Diane. 2 out, 3 out, 4 out. Some out of the back row after taking the 4 and the 7. Caitlin. Slightly off the head pin, leaves the 1 and the 3. No mark for the final box. Diane Hammett, center diamond, the 6 and the 8. She fires. She's on the 1-3 pocket. She leaves the 5 and the 8. And I know that should have been for the balls that Diane is throwing. It's really just some of these leaves are just, I don't know. That's a 10 box for Caitlin Zoltko, and that's a 119 in the 5th for a 549 5-game total. That's a nice check-in for this match. Diane Hammett will finish off with a 9 box for a 101. Her best game of the day, saved it for last, and that's a 445 5-game series for Diane Hammett. That is ball game. Diane Hammett 445 versus Krista Ruggiero's 484. Caitlin Zoltko 549 versus Dan Gray's 522. Those are the final numbers today. Let's go to the final stats in the booth. It is 8 points today for 12 points today for Caitlin Zoltko. Dan Gray will walk out of here with 2 points. Dan Gray will move to 44 and 82. Caitlin Zoltko will move to 40 and 58. As for Krista Ruggiero and Diane Hammett, Krista Ruggiero will take 11 points and go to 53 and 73, and then Diane Hammett will take 3 points because they tied in the final one, and Diane will go to 56 and 84. So Diane was able to squeak out at least 1 point in the 5th game. For the boxes won, if this were head-to-head, it would have been Caitlin Zoltko winning with 23 boxes to Dan Gray's 18. Krista Ruggiero would have won 22 boxes versus Diane Hammett's 15 won boxes, but all the rest being ties. For the strikes, it was really Dan Gray's day. 3 strikes, followed by Krista Ruggiero's 2. And Caitlin Zoltko didn't throw any, and neither did Diane Hammett. So I just always think that's interesting how those stats work out. Caitlin Zoltko in the lead in the head pin, 58%. Tie for 44% for Dan Gray, Krista Ruggiero, and Diane Hammett otherwise. In the splits department, we had a lot, but we saw Caitlin Zoltko and Diane Hammett with the most. Diane with 19, Caitlin Zoltko with 17. Diane just really having the most difficulty with the splits in general. Anyways, let's take a look at the graphs as well in case you want to pause the video and look at kind of how the first ball average shook out, how the total pinfall shook out, and as well as the box winners. The first ball average was most interesting. Caitlin Zoltko 6.14 in the lead, 5.62 for Dan Gray, 5.4 for Krista Ruggiero, and 4.86 for Diane Hammett by the end of the match. But it swayed around, as you can see. That is the stat that fluctuates quite a bit overall. Anyways, so that should just about do it for us here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Again, your finals totals: 522 for Dan Gray, 549 for Caitlin Zoltko, 484 for Krista Ruggiero, and 445 for Diane Hammett. It's been great broadcasting this for you today. I want you to check out 3 Ball Spare if you want to. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Reddit, and everything you see on your screen there for plenty more matches. I also want you to check out the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook and YouTube for the matches as they're streamed, not only by myself, but a great cast of people who do their own sets of streaming. I'm not the only one out there, so do check them out as well. Anyways, for Dan Gray, Caitlin Zoltko, Krista, Ruggiero, and Diane Hammett, I've been Steve Kelly. It's been great to have you along with us. We'll see you at the next Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Have a great match. Have a great one, everybody.